For years, Japan has been known as a country that moves very carefully on military matters. But now, the name of a Japanese company has appeared in an interceptor drone project meant to deal with waves of Russian attacks. Russia was furious, because this is not some side issue on the edge of the war. It touches one of Ukraine's most urgent problems: how to stop mass air attacks without burning through billions of dollars. And when Japan starts moving into something this important, it raises a bigger question. Is this a sign that Japan has its own larger agenda in this war? The war in Ukraine is no longer just changing the front lines in Eastern Europe. It is also changing who builds weapons, who puts money into the war economy, and who is slowly becoming part of Ukraine's military needs. Japan is one of the most striking examples. For years, the country held itself back when it came to military affairs. But this time, the shift is happening through investment, technology, and industrial cooperation. And that shows the circle around the war in Ukraine is getting wider. On March 31st, 2026, Japan's Terra Drone officially announced a strategic investment in amazing drones in Ukraine and at the same time introduced the Terra A1, an interceptor drone designed to deal with low-cost aerial threats such as the Shahed. In its official statement, Terra Drone said openly that the move was meant to absorb battlefield technology and combat experience that had already been tested directly in Ukraine. The Terra A1 was not built as a trial project. It was introduced as a low-cost interceptor system that can be mass-produced, has a range of about 20 miles, and can reach speeds of up to 186 miles per hour, faster than the typical Shahed drone, which flies at around 124 miles per hour. For Ukraine, this looked like an answer to a nightmare. But for Russia, it meant that a Japanese company had stepped directly into a layer of defense tied to Russian air attacks. Moscow reacted quickly. On April 8, 2026, Russia's foreign ministry summoned the Japanese ambassador and issued an official protest over the investment. What made Russia even more irritated was that Terra Drone was openly selling the Terra A1 as an answer to a new kind of war logic. Cheap threats must be countered with cheap defenses rather than relying again and again on expensive interceptors. That means Japan is not moving into some peripheral corner of the war. It is stepping into one of the most urgent problems Ukraine faces every single night. The sensitivity is even greater because Japan and Russia have been at odds for a long time. The Japanese government still says the Northern Territories dispute remains unresolved, and it continues to stress that a formal peace treaty with Russia has still not truly been settled even 80 years after World War II. That tension became even clearer in February 2026 when Japan's Prime Minister said Tokyo's relationship with Moscow was strained because of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. That is why Russia reacted so strongly. Japan stepped into the exact issue that has become one of Ukraine's biggest headaches: cheap drones that keep coming again and again but cannot be allowed to get through. Every night, Ukraine needs a way to shoot them down without draining its defense budget dry. That is where the meaning of this project really starts to show. In a war like this, the side that lasts longer is not always the side with the most advanced weapons. Very often, it is the side that can survive the cost of fighting. The problem Ukraine is facing is simple to understand, but very hard to solve. Russia keeps launching large numbers of low-cost attack drones, while top-tier interceptors can cost millions of dollars per shot. The Shahed-136 is estimated to cost around $20,000 to $50,000 per unit, while a single Patriot interceptor costs roughly $4 million. CSIS has also warned that using expensive interceptors against cheap drones destroys the cost balance of air defense, especially when Western interceptor production moves much more slowly than Russia's ability to push out drones in large numbers. That is why the core issue is not just about shooting targets down. The real question is how to hold the line without losing the cost war first. That is where the Terra A1 comes in. In its official announcement, Terra Drone stated its core principle clearly: cheap threats must be countered with a cheap solution. The Terra A1 was designed as a low-cost interceptor that can be mass-produced, with a top speed of 186 miles per hour, a range of about 20 miles, and a 15-minute flight cycle covering surveillance, detection, and target destruction. In other words, what is being sold here is not just a new drone, it is a new war logic. Ukraine needs a system that can be deployed fast, produced in volume, and move quickly enough to chase down Russian drones that have forced Ukrainian air defenses to stay active night after night. And once the deciding factor shifts toward efficiency like this, it makes sense that Japan would see this sector as a highly attractive entry point. If you look at Japan's official policy, its move toward Ukraine did not come out of nowhere. In April 2023, Japan launched the official Security Assistance Framework to help armed forces and related institutions in countries considered aligned with Japan's interests. Then, in the Diplomatic Blue Book 2025, Japan's Foreign Ministry wrote that the transfer of defense equipment and defense technology overseas is viewed as an important tool for shaping the security environment Japan wants, while also helping countries that are victims of aggression in violation of international law. The same document also shows that Japan has been expanding agreements on defense equipment and technology transfers with other partners, including Singapore. So this shift in Japan's posture was not created by one drone project in Ukraine. The broader direction had already been laid out earlier. Ukraine then brought something that many other countries simply cannot offer: real wartime experience, urgent battlefield needs, and an innovation cycle moving at extreme speed. That is why this relationship fits both sides. In February 2026, Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine was ready to share naval drone and interceptor drone technology with Japan. At that point, the Japan-Ukraine relationship no longer fit neatly into the old pattern of donor and recipient. It was beginning to move toward technology exchange and two-way learning. That also changed Ukraine's position. Ukraine was no longer just a country in need of help. It was increasingly being seen as a place where other countries could learn how to deal with a modern form of war that is cheap, fast, and constantly evolving. And once that kind of knowledge starts being sought after, war does not just produce destruction. It also starts producing new industrial networks behind the front line. That is why the next step becomes important to watch. Who else is coming in, and how Ukraine is slowly turning into a technology hub that more and more outside players want access to. This shift becomes clearer when you look at the numbers. On February 5, 2026, UNIDO announced that 47 Japanese companies had signed grant agreements to test technologies and business models with partners in Ukraine. And the scope was not small. The technologies involved covered agribusiness, water infrastructure, energy, telemedicine, productivity improvements for small businesses, mine detection, and civilian infrastructure protection. UNIDO even said that more than 30,000 people in Ukraine were expected to gain new skills through the program. So Ukraine is no longer being approached only as a country that needs aid. It is increasingly being used as a place to test technology, figure out what actually works, and turn it into something larger. That trend became even clearer on March 16th and 17th, 2026, when Japan, Ukraine, and UNIDO held an industrial policy dialogue in Vienna. The discussion was no longer about one company or one product. It was about how to speed up Ukraine's industrial recovery, attract new investors, and turn Japanese support into long-term cooperation. At that forum, Japan also said that 108 cooperation documents had already been signed across the public and private sectors, and that more than one-third of them were tied to green industrial recovery projects financed by Japan. That means this war is creating something larger behind the front lines. Ukraine is still under attack, but at the same time, it is also starting to be treated as an important place for foreign partners who want to build industry, test technology, and establish their position early. From here, the path becomes clearer. Japan is not coming in just out of sympathy. It is also trying to become part of Ukraine's future, while that future is still being shaped in the middle of war. Back in June 2024, Japan and Ukraine had already signed a security agreement that went far beyond ordinary assistance. It included cooperation on cyber issues, information warfare, maritime security, and industrial cooperation. It even contained a clause stating that if Russia launched another armed attack in the future, the two sides would consult within 24 hours to determine the next steps. Then, on June 21, 2025, a security information agreement between Japan and Ukraine officially took effect, giving the exchange of sensitive security-related information a formal legal framework. So when Terra Drone entered Ukraine's interceptor project in 2026, it was not something entirely new. At the same time, Japan was also preparing itself. In its 2026 defense budget documents, Japan's defense ministry allocated 7.8 billion yen for counter-drone equipment at self-defense force bases, arguing that drone attacks on defense facilities could seriously affect Japan's security. Japan also added 30.4 billion yen to strengthen its defense production base. The larger direction became even clearer when Japan's defense ministry wrote that lessons from the war in Ukraine were being used as reference points in building Japan's own unmanned capabilities. Other Japanese defense documents also make clear that defense equipment transfers are not only meant to shape the security environment Tokyo wants, but also to preserve the growth potential of Japan's own defense industry. So the war in Ukraine is not just giving Japan a reason to help, it is also giving Japan a real-world laboratory to learn from, adjust its budgeting around, and expand its own defense industry. Russia is not angry for no reason. Because what is entering Ukraine today is not just money or technology. It is a country that used to be extremely cautious about going anywhere near a battlefield like this. Japan has not sent troops, but it has clearly moved closer. And when a step like that is taken in the middle of a war as large as Ukraine, history usually does not remember it as just another business headline. It remembers it as a sign that a country is beginning to change.